Right, it's that day again where we're talking football and nothing else and Front Runner Sports. I'm joined here today by Shoaib Walters as well as my friend. You know the nice thing about about sitting down and talking to Sosi. Sosi always comes up. Sosi always comes up and talks about it's Kune. But we're not going to do that today. We'll talk about something different. We'll try and focus on matches that are coming up this week. Last week we had a break because it was International Week. Players went to play for the national teams. We also had the MTN8 in between. Now we're back to the business. I think that's where you come in. Black Leopards against Maritzburg United. Maritzburg United, your former team not doing well. 3 matches, 3 losses. Black Leopards the same. But let's talk about Maritzburg United. That's a team before you got into the bubble. They were the team to talk about. They were the team that was doing so well. They were in the top 4 bracket at some stage. Then they filtered through, eventually found themselves just in the top 8. What happened?
Yeah, I think it started in the bubble time already. They had a very, very bad bubble. And, I spoke to a few of the management, and we had Quinton on the show also, I think. And I think we all came to a conclusion, a summary, that the players were basically on holiday while in the bubble.
Yeah.
And I think they just knew that they were already guaranteed top 8 at a stage, and they had nothing to play for. It's a sickness that we have in South African football, South African players, and it's all about the mental state. Achieve more, want more. Even if you're 4th or you're 3rd, and you're playing for 3 games and you can't get to 2nd or 1st, try to maintain 3rd, and I think that was the problem. And continuing now, I think the momentum is obviously they lost Richard Ofori, which I think was a big loss. It's a big leader. I've said it before, Nazir Ali is a leader, but he's a leader where he shows what type of football, how he plays.
Yeah.
They lack for me. The only example I can use is somebody like Roy Keane. That can G the players up before the game, can drive them, before the game, get that mentality going. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that they're going to have if they don't make experienced signings now. Yes, you have Julius Mosiamedi, you have Kutumela, which you're going to rely on, but they're relying on, yes, they experienced players to a certain degree, but they're not going to lead the team, and I think they need a few more leaders.
Kelvin Sosibo, you've watched the story. You also have some linkage to the Maritzburg fold of how things have been. I think that's a good thing that we're talking about that first, so you can get that out of the way. Eric Tinkler sitting on a bench. He had Paladi Kobola, who since left the team. You know that they brought in Delron Butling to the team. They also have Rowan Fernandez sitting on the bench. How much of an impact do you think that had with the way they changed things? Because if you look at a combination of the two, the coaches, Eric Tinkler alongside Paladi Kobola, when they're still at Cape Town City before they moved to Maritzburg United, they look to work very well. So as a player, people always talk about the link man between the management and the players. Was Kobola that guy, or are we just really trying to make something out of nothing?
I think that pair work really well. I think it's prudent. Everybody can see that, and I think now having an addition, even though players now are getting used to maybe the assistant coach, which is Kobola.
Yeah,
it's much easier to relate to somebody whereby they know Kobola as well. Both these players that came on board, which is Darren Barkley and Rowan, they are also players and experienced players. But I think they felt because they were within the same age margin with Kobola, if things don't go well, they go to him and then try and ask what is it that they're not doing right. Because you always want to find a lineage in terms of a coach that is an assistant to say, hey, coach, just ask the coach, what am I doing wrong? Where can I improve and stuff like that. But I think for me, it's still maybe trying to get the feel from the top position first, which is the management side, which is Eric, maybe trying to adjust to the people that have actually rolled in.
Yeah.
And then eventually it will filter down to the players. They're doing not so bad, but I think it's taking a huge knock, knowing Maritzburg in terms of how they finish, as Shoaib has mentioned, that they had a holiday in the bubble. But I think for them, that was prudent to say, let's actually get our gear up because we're starting a new season not so long ago, because you can always outroot the result that we actually had, which was quite bad for that team, and knowing them that they're a team that plays very well.
Let's talk about a player like Tlolane. Remember Tlolane from Chippa United, he went to London Pirates, he was sent to Maritzburg United on a loan stint. Eric had a lot to talk about him, to say he was a player that gave them the width every time they went forward. He made the likes of Hlongwane, the likes of Kutumela look very good because he was a supplier. How much of a blow was it losing that player who eventually had to go to his parent club?
Yeah, I think it's going to, because I think they've been looking for a replacement since the Olin Makoa left in January, I think, to Ajax.
Yeah.
So, and with the type of play that Eric does play, is he needs width at times. He also needs transition at times, and he's got the speed. So, look, for me, it's a big blow. But you know what? Just to touch on what you guys were talking about, and I have to agree with you, Brian. You're not sucking it out of your thumb or drawing at straws when you're saying what a big loss Vincent is. Because even if you see the farewell messages that they had on Twitter from Maritzburg United, it was always photos with Vincent having his shoulder around a player. So he was that link.
Yeah.
We don't know what type of link or what type of connection Darren Buckley is going to have, because Eric is, I've played under Eric, and Eric is not going to be the coach that's going to come and say, hey, we're going to drop you this week because this and that, you're off form, or, you have a little bit maybe outside problem. He's not going to. When you're out, you're out. You're going to want the answers as players. And Vincent was that guy. I've played with Darren. I don't know him in the coaching capacity. Can he be that guy? We only time can tell now. Can he be that, that shoulder, or that, absorb the pressure? Because a lot of the times when you want to vent as a player, you vent by the assistant coach. I used to do it with Ian Taylor at Cape Town City. When I was frustrated, I vented. You don't vent at the head coach. He's he's that sponge. So
it sucks up everything. Yeah.
Yes, and we only time can tell if they can change their fortunes when it comes to that part of.
I think also with Darren as well. When I was at Maritzburg, I think the little time that I've known the player, he didn't come across as somebody that actually you can go to or speak to him. He's more of a reserved type of a person. With Rowan, yes, I've been around him at Chiefs. And I think maybe that's one of the players the players can actually relate to or talk to, because he's one of the players that actually brings up things. Or he can actually tell you that, hey, listen, so see, you're not doing this right, and the coach actually says this and this and this. So it gives you an encouragement to see that, okay, he can actually do that. And from a keeper's department, because they are the ones that will always see the match from behind.
They're playing against Black Leopards, the return of Dylan Kerr. So the merry-go-round continues. Dylan Kerr, in an interview that he had, he was saying that he have learned so much while he was at Baroka, and the fact that he's not going back there to fight relegation, but he wants to do very well. Black Leopards had a coach is gone, they now bring Dylan Kerr back. What do you make of that? You only played 3 matches.
Yeah, and for you to, he left Leopards after 1 month before.
Yeah.
So, you know what? It's going to continue. We're going to always have this little dramas in the PSL. Coaches moving all over the show within 4 or 5 games. We've had it for the last 4 or 5 seasons already. What to make of it? I think is probably the best thing for Leopards. If they want change, because Baroka is still reaping the rewards of what Dylan Kerr is
laid off, foundation.
So they're sitting 7 points, and he must take a little bit of credit, or being given a little bit of credit at Baroka. So I think with given some time, he's going to change and transform Black Leopards to be some type of competitive team. And I think it's going to be a tough game for Maritzburg, because Maritzburg just doesn't do well in Polokwane.
Yeah.
It is indeed, Toyando is a problem place.
And just another thing, maybe I think also Leopards is trying to rectify the mistake that they made with the coach. Knowing very well whatever the coach that had actually left, they felt that bringing Darren Kerr again, it won't be like a full stretch, because he already knows the players, he knows the plan. He had the plan, because I read some of his article where he said the type of work that he has been doing, planning, immediately after he left Baroka. So he kept himself busy, knowing that if something comes up, and then it came up at the right time to a family that he knew. So I think for him, it's actually going to work quite well, because I think for me, as Shoaib actually mentioned now, leaving Maritzburg and going to Polokwane, it's not the best of trips.
I dubbed this game the Battle of Relegation Survivors. 2018-19, Maritzburg United had to come back to the Premier Division via the playoffs. Black Leopards did it last season. So we'll see. Who do you think will take this one?
Well, for me, I think I'll go for Leopards with their consistency. They playing quite pretty football.
Yeah.
It's exciting to watch them. I think Maritzburg actually right now they just have a slump, and which is I think also they can actually pick themselves up from that, because knowing that they are not good travelers, but maybe this they can turn it around.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. For me, one thing I must tell a message we have to give the Black Leopards management and owner is that the one that Dylan Kerr said to the Baraka, let me do my job. I know it, I've been there for 30 years, so we hope that this time they're going to allow him to do his job. I just hope so, because if they do, yes, they can transform. But I'm going to go with Leopards as well. There's too much running against Maritzburg. First of all, the low of confidence, I think, in the camp. Hopefully the last couple of weeks they've built on the confidence. Playing away, they're not really good in Limpopo generally. And I think that the Leopards players are obviously going to try to prove to the new coach that they deserve to play. So I'm going to go with the Leopards win as well.
All right, whatever the result, at least there'll be one team with a point if it's a winner, or either one wins, or if it's a draw, at least we'll at least have every team in the Premier Division having at least a point. That's the good news about it. Yeah. Let's move on now to the next game. Golden Arrows under Mandla Ncigazi. He's been the man that took over and Steve Kompela left. The last two matches, in fact, they managed to win one game and they managed to draw against Baroka. There were 10 men and they got an equalizer right at the death of the encounter to finish 1-1. So they collected 4 points in their last two matches. They're up against a wounded Kaizer Chiefs who just come back from losing back-to-back Soweto derbies. Chiefs are yet to score a goal on their own, by the way, in the league, because the only goal they scored was when Chippa scored an own goal. In the other matches, they lost 3-0, they lost also, and they drew the other game. In fact, they drew, lost 1. So let's talk about this game. Golden Arrows against Kaizer Chiefs. Mandla Ncigazi up against Kevin Hunt.
Yeah, for me, I think it's gonna be a good game. For me, I just have this feeling Golden Arrows are going to sneak this one, because, like we just said now, they haven't been scoring. Gavin always focused from defend first, and he's struggling to implement the way he wants his defenders to defend. So, and they're not scoring as well. So for me, it's going to be a very tough game for Kaizer Chiefs. I hope that the international break he could, implement and try and get his structure in a little bit more within his defense and his players. But I still think it's going to go to Golden Arrows, because Golden Arrows still living. But as much as, yes, Mandla gets a lot of credit, it's also just a little bit of continuity. Steve also has to take some credit and be given some credit. We can't just say, like, for example, even Baraka, we have to give credit to Dylan Kerr. We have to give credit to Steve. It's just a little bit of continuity. And yes, I'm happy for Mandla, because I've worked with him. We've worked with him at Maritzburg with Steve. And I think he had a stint at Maritzburg also as the head coach when Steve went to Kaizer Chiefs. And maybe not ready, or maybe couldn't build from that foundation. But I definitely think, and I have full confidence in him.
Let's talk about culture. Mandla Ncigazi understands the Golden Arrows culture more than any coach that has been at Golden Arrows, for an example, because even prior to Steve arriving, at the time when Mangoba Mniti was there, so he's always been the only man standing, even when all coaches have left Golden Arrows. Yeah. How much of an advantage did it give him into this encounter against Kevin Hunt, who's still trying to find his first 11, a team that has conceded 8 goals in the last, 4 or 5 matches, and have only scored 1 goal. That was the own goal I spoke of, plus the 2 that they scored, which was scored by Sussman in the MTN 8. Chiefs low on confidence. Golden Arrows have just collected 4 points. Who do you therefore think will come in better and thinking that they can do it?
I think for me, again, if you look at it, first and foremost, I think Chiefs is a bigger team. Even though now they are low in confidence and a lot is going on in their office, But now again, when you go back to culture, I think Ncigazi comes into this one more relaxed because understanding is not under pressure. The person that is under pressure right now is actually Gavin. So Gavin is the one that is supposed to be picking up points, not actually leaving out Ncigazi, who also wants to win the match. But I think him preserving the culture of Golden Arrows, I think players, for any player that actually plays Chiefs, that game doesn't even need you to be motivated. You are motivated already when you play Chiefs. And every player wants to do well because who knows, you might get signed by Chiefs.
So that is the big one indeed. Golden Arrows against Kaizer Chiefs for the last two seasons, 2017, 18, 18, 19. It was Arrows who managed to win the home game. Chiefs won their first away game against Arrows last season after the last time was 2016-17 season. So let's see how that one will pan out. Can Chiefs get their first win, which is them scoring a goal? Because the strikers haven't scored a goal yet, by the way, guys. Let's talk about that. I mean, you have Chiefs with Samir Nurkovic not there, still out injured. You have Castro is yet to find the back of the net. Kama Billiard yet to find the back of the net. Who do you think will score the goals? If you're talking about them, for example, if somebody says Chiefs will win, who do you think will score that for them?
Yeah, for me, is you know what, I think they're just relying a little bit too much now on Castro. Castro's unfit, first of all, because he came a couple of weeks and then he played within 2-3 days. You can see he's not going to last. You're not going to get the best out of him. Hopefully now this last 2 weeks, it would have helped a little bit with his fitness. Kama's just off form.
Yeah.
But then again, also you also have to look at, it's a different structure now. It's a different type of football. So it's for them to adapt. Bernard Parker's the one shining because of his experience. He can adjust, to any coach. If a coach wants this, he can give you that. If a coach wants that, he will give it to you. So I'm hoping that your Blom and the youngsters can come now. Maybe take the game with the scruff of the neck. Like Percy Towers doing now in the last couple of international games.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I think they can maybe hope for to get some type of lifting off is the younger players now. I think Zuma must also come to the fold now. They've got quality. It's no doubt about it. It's just now about adapting the new formation or the new structure also and getting the confidence. So it's a lot for them to deal with, and they're a big club. They're expected to win all the time.
Yeah.
That's why it's just going to be tough for me. That's why.
I think also, Brian, just to add on what Schwab is saying, I think with the younger players, it's a big opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Because being put at that stage, the players that actually get rolled out into that team, it's massive, big players. So that team, when you step into that field, you are demanded to get results. But for them, I'm happy for players. They're putting a good name for themselves. We see some small the other younger players come trickling in, giving good performance now and then. But now what we need is consistency. How are we going to get consistency? Are they starting to understand how Gavin wants them to play? Is there a certain a pattern that they want to play with? It's still left to be desired in terms of what is the game plan? Because remember, if you're using lesser experienced players, there needs to be a formation that you put that accommodates those players. But now this is a big club anyway, because he has to work with what he has now.
Let's talk about working with what he has now. You have been there at Kaizer Chiefs as a young man trying to break into the first team, given an opportunity to be able to run onto the field of play. Then you had leaders on the field of play.
True.
Let's talk about the captaincy part of Kaizer Chiefs. We know Kuhn is the regular captain. We know that Katande takes off the captain's armband. We know we also have a player like Mator and Bernard Parker amongst those players, Manyama as well.
Yes.
I mentioned 5 players already. Yeah. When they played in the last game, when they played against the Buccaneers, when eventual captain of the day left the field of play, the armband was moved to somebody else. And then when that player left the field of play, the armband was moved to that other player, which is Mator, who got a red card in that game. As a young man, within a team setup like that one, where you don't know who is the go-to guy from a captain point of view, how much of an impact does that have on a young player, on a field of play who's 19, playing at the biggest team in the country?
I think it has a lot of impact. I won't lie to you. I think back in the days, we had captains like Mabedi, we had Shoes, who were actually like great captains, people that will actually openly go to them and tell them, hey, Grootman, I don't understand what to do now. How am I playing? Because those players will actually come to you and say, if you come into this team, you got to be at your 100% mentally. You cannot doubt yourself that you are here, because there are players that are lingering around that actually wants to join this club. So I think the change of an armband as well with youngsters, if you not a great example to the players, they will actually look, you getting red card, a sign of getting a red card in a reckless way, youngsters will be like, okay, so I can also do it. That's not a good picture that you actually give to the youngsters, because youngsters, you want to mold them, and because they also came to that space where they were still fresh and they were mentored correctly. So now if they're going to actually put up a bad example to the youngsters, it's just going to go pear-shaped.
Yeah, but for me, does Gavin have his club captain yet? Or not club captain, does he have his captain that he knows that it's going to be regular? Obviously, you look at they want Kune, but Kune is not fit yet, or he's still looking a bit off, or they're still thinking about Daniel Apai, Willard, Katsande is not playing at times. So who can you make that is a regular? So now at the moment, it's just a chopping and changing, because he's still trying to find his regular first 11. But you know what, for me is, I think when you have a club captain like E2, immaterial if he's on or off the field, you should be able to go and speak to him. Talking about, yes, Eric, I think that's not setting a good example. You need to set a good example for youngsters, especially when you've got a few exciting youngsters coming through, and you want them not to fall by the wayside like many others do.
Let's move to the next game. That also kicking up at, in fact, by the way, the Chiefs and Arrows game is at 3:30. And that will be in Claremont at the Sugar Kulu Stadium. And the other game is at Toyando Stadium between Black Leopards and Maritzburg United. Stellenbosch FC looking for their first win of the season against Chippa United, who have a player that's just scored the first hat-trick, by the way, in the Cameroonian, Evanga. He came from a goal down against Maritzburg United. But Klassen has scored a goal. He scored a hat-trick on a day.
Two penalties.
Let's talk about the Chippa. Now, we'll get to the penalty stories. I mean,
no, it was penalties.
Were they not? We don't know.
No, they were penalties. They were both of them.
So that talks about the defense of Maritzburg United as well.
I was tweeting. I mean, you can go and check my Twitter. We will. I don't know why I'm still saying we.
It's okay, I understand. once a team of choice member, always one.
Yeah, we are together. We don't vote.
Maritzburg was leading 1-0, and I tweeted, Chippa's going to score a goal. They're going to concede. I could see it in the body language. I could see it. And that is where I'm saying you need this leader. You need somebody to say, hey, jack yourselves up. If you experience play like Sosi, you watch that game, Sosi, you could also see, hey, they're going to.
Coming, you could actually tell that now it's coming, now it's coming.
So why is your tails not up after scoring? It's like you just take your foot off the pedal, and completely off the pedal. But okay, just to answer your question, it was. Both of them were penalties.
I wanted you to say that so we can move on. Because I was thinking more like, both were penalties. I'm thinking, okay, you're going to have another one where he's going to say, no, there were no penalties at all.
No, there were penalties.
You're up against a Chippa team. I mean, they've just won a very big game. I mean, to win in that form and win by 3-1, and also Evanga to manage to find to find a hat-trick, that's a huge thing for them. What will be the approach for Steve Bakker up against a Chippa team that is being coached by Lehlono Siema? You played with Siema while you were still at Celtic. What sort of a coach is Siema? As a player, as a leader on a field of play, and now sitting on a bench, what do you think he brought into the Chippa team that people have always wanted Chippa to have?
He brought structure. He brought, for me, and I don't know, Calvin will probably agree with me that when I look at coaches nowadays, I look at the position that they played as players. Yes. And then that's the type of football they want to play. Yeah. So Siema was a defender, so now he sits back a little bit. He's like, even, did you see that game against Maritzburg? They didn't panic when they conceded. They still held the structure, look at a bit of transition. And I think that is the type of structure that Chippa needed, because Chippa back in the day always used to play off the cuff, and they used to always want to play ball, 50 passes in their own box with no purpose. He's got a purpose, and that is what he's brought to Chippa. And I have to give him a lot of credit, because it's a lot different to Celtics, isn't it? The way he played for Celtics, which is a sign of a good coach, because you see at what arsenal you have And then I build, and then I say, this is the type of football we can play with, the type of players, the type of Arsenal we have, which is a sign of a good coach. And for me, it's just to answer your question, Brian, he brings a lot of structure and he brings a certain degree of purpose in their football.
I think also as well as Shoaib is actually making good points. I think when Siema came to Chippa, every time when he's getting a draw or he's losing a match, he has never panicked. Yeah. If you see his interviews, he was like, no, the boys tried. It's just those elementary mistakes now, there and there. Because I think for me, I've played against Siema, a cool player, very comfortable on the ball, and a player that will always try to bring the team up. And always when he goes into the post-match, it's hardly that he will say that, those chances we should have done this. He actually looks at it. He looks at it in a way that I'm trying to build something, and then now it's coming together. Yeah. So now, as it's coming up nicely, now everybody is seeing the picture that he is trying to paint for us all. Because even the glimpse at Celtics, you could tell that Celtics, the way they are playing now, he still needs to also to be given credit for whatever that he has built and left there. So the continuity now, as Shoaib is saying, the arsenal that he has in Chippa, he's working with what he has and he's producing result. So it's good for him, and for him to score those goals, it shows that he's working in terms of his transition and more strongly in terms of his defense. Because if you're a defender, you always want to actually give a distinctive performance on that space.
Quick one, gentlemen. Last season, the match produced 2 draws. Who do you give it to?
I'm gonna go with Chippa this time also, because just for continuation of the way they played the last game.
Yeah, I want to give it to them because of in terms of how they actually played. As Shoaib is saying, that the continuity.
But then again, both teams play on transition.
That's what I'm trying to say right now. That's what I'm trying to think.
So they both are going to sit.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I'm not trying to actually just to agree what he's saying. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the continuation.
Yeah, but you can't sit on the fence.
Yeah, no, I'm not sitting on the fence.
I'm just saying, let's go. Who's going to win this one? Or is it going to be a draw again?
No.
Given the way they play.
Just to make it exciting, I think Chippa is going to take this one. Just to actually to get themselves get more confidence into this game.
So you're agreeing with you?
Definitely.
Okay, finally, some.
Yeah, when it's
consensus.
transition, I mean, anything can happen on that one.
High-flying Orlando Pirates against SuperSport United. Kaitana Tembo's side, they lost against Golden Arrows. They played against Bloemfontein Celtic in the semis, eventually seeing themselves lose in that encounter and knocked out of the semis also. So they come here against Orlando Pirates, a team that is on a high. I mean, the history between these two teams, we can sit here and talk about it the whole day. We still know the six that Pirates got a few seasons ago. We still know what happened last season. Wayne Sandler saving 2 penalties, Pirates eventually winning by 2-1 at the Ellis Park Stadium. Here they are now, meeting up again at 6 p.m. tomorrow at Orlando Stadium. Let's talk about this game. Pirates, what sort of approach will they have? Because do remember, Pirates are going to start also the CAF Confederations Cup shortly. And they want to catch up with Sundowns and Baroka, who are sitting on top. Baroka Swallows, in fact, Swallows also sitting among those on the top. SuperSport United do know a win against Pirates tomorrow. Ahead of the Swallows game in the evening, we'll see them go top.
With 8 points.
Yeah, we'll see them go top. It's 9 points, by the way.
9.
Because they won 2, they lost 1.
2 wins and a loss.
Yeah.
For me, look, I think obviously Orlando Pirates they obviously flying high. Scored 5 goals in the last 2 MTN8 games. We don't have to look too much. You can look at the league, but they're not going to change too much. So they're flying high. They're playing some good football. They've got some good speed, which I think is going to be the downfall with SuperSport's defense. Obviously, they're quite old at the back, but slow. They've shown it against Golden Arrows, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, when they lost 3-1, yeah.
Yes, so the speed of Orlando Pirates against the speed of SuperSport's defense. But then again, you also know that SuperSport can compete, because they've got the players to compete. So they can do they can also create. I'm just trying to think now about any weakness that I've seen. Have you seen any with Pirates?
Nah, not much.
Not
I think
much.
the combinations from Pirates are starting to actually trickle in. And even subs that they are making, they are all impact subs. And I think also just to coming into from the points that Shoaib has been making, I think the two games are always different amongst the league where it's a derby game. I think you always have to start afresh when you play a team that is outside the derby. So I see also Pirates actually going a notch up. They are high in confidence, yes. What's better from Pirates is that they are scoring. And their front four is actually finding the goals that we've been actually complaining about.
And clean sheets also.
Yeah, and actually having a goalkeeper for Fori who's keeping a clean sheet. I know, Shoaib will tell you, it means a lot to have a clean sheet. We can play maybe bad, but if he keeps a clean sheet, for him it means much more. I think Ofori comes in also, stamping his authority, actually gives Pirates an edge. Because if you have a keeper like Ofori, I think their back four also will play like more relaxed. If they do their duty, they will know that even if they slip up, they've got like a good safety net that they can actually fall on.
Let's talk about the back four. You just mentioned the back four now. You have a slightly new back four. You have Sachwa, you're playing alongside Nyauza. They've never played together until now when they go to London Pirates. You saw some frailties somewhere. I mean, if you look at the first two matches where they were leading, they eventually played 1-1 draws in both those matches in the league before eventually winning against Bloemfontein Celtic. You're talking about Ofori now. He's in charge, and you can see he's very vocal. He's a leader, as you mentioned, at Maritzburg United, leading the leadership of his. A SuperSport team that is well prepared on any given day can cause problem to any team at any given time. You have a Ronan Williams in goals for SuperSport United, buoyed by his performance at Bafana level. Surely they will not be a pushover.
No, they're definitely not going to be a pushover. We've come there. What I'm saying is, when I'm looking at the defense of SuperSport, it's just walking into the strengths of. So it's the weakness against the strength of an opposition.
It's a ways it actually,
Yes, and that is where yes, I know Ronwan knows he's going to have his work cut out for him, but can he stop everything? And we also know that SuperSport can create, but then we look. Orlando Pirates has 3 clean sheets again also. And even though you can bring because they had Kaizer Chiefs, they played Kaizer Chiefs twice and they never conceded. So at the end of the day, that is how I'm looking at. I'm looking at the stats, I'm looking at the facts, and I'm looking at yes, they can be a team to reckon with SuperSport. But on this day, I think at the moment and the way things are going for Pirates and the way things are going for SuperSport, I'm going to go with the Pirates win.
All right, Bradley Roble is a doubtful starter for that game there, by the way, due to an injury. So we'll see how that one unfolds. Last season, the 4 meetings in the league have resulted in 2 wins for each team. So something to look forward to. Now, Mamelodi Sundowns in action. Yeah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add something. I think also with Roble being a doubt starter on this match, I think also now it brings in Kabuza. Kabuza, is he really ready actually to now take up his place? Because for me, I know when I was playing, every time when the player that always starts gets injured, I always get excited because that's my opportunity to start. And I want to make sure that I keep that player out. So I think when Grobler is not starting, coming into this match as well, I think for Kabuza, it will mean a lot playing against his team.
All right, so Mamroka Swallow is also in action against TS Galaxy. That's a battle of the new teams. TTM against Baroka. Another interesting battle because I know Rachel has actually made a move to TTM. So that's another one to talk about. But now, let's look at the big one. I mean, Mamelodi Sundowns on Sunday against AmaZulu. That's a game that everybody's talking about. AmaZulu, the new owners now, they seem to be getting something right because AmaZulu is playing very well. How do you actually see this one coming out against Sundowns? In fact, just to give you something that you can just chew on. If you look at the last 12 meetings between Sundowns and AmaZulu, there've only been 1 drawn match between these two teams. And 9 victories for Sundowns, 2 for AmaZulu. In fact, Sundowns have won the last 3 matches in a row, scoring 9 goals in those matches, conceding absolutely no goals against AmaZulu. How do you see this one going?
I don't think we should look too much into that statistics of AmaZulu the last few seasons, because the last few seasons, we always looked at AmaZulu as being relegation candidates. So now, if you look at the transformation and the signings that they've made and the football that they're playing, this could be the turn of events for them. So it's a very, very tough one. If they gel AmaZulu, if the team gels and they play according to the instruction, I think they could beat Sundowns. Statistics is not going to play with me this time around because I must say I like the signings. I've said it. I've said it the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
2 seasons before that, AmaZulu is relegation candidates for the signings that they made and the way the way they were conducting business signings. To be honest, now I'm happy to a certain degree, and I think they can be the force that they should be in KZN because they should. They're one of the biggest clubs in the country as well. Historically. So now it looks like that. And if the players that they've signed comes to... Mamela's doing well. He's the good signing. Hopefully Shabalala can make his debut.
Mamela is having a wonderful game.
Yes, he is.
I think
Mulenga also, you talk about.
Yes.
also, just to come in there, I think also now it's starting to show within the vision that the new owners have and the players that is pinpointing and signing are contributing players. It's not just players that are just there to sit there and to just get paid. I think even Memela, talking about Memela now, who's having a wonderful season. I think for him, he came with a fresh mind, fresh attitude, and he wants to prove to himself, because you can see a player that is playing for himself that wants to do it now, because leaving Pirates maybe might have been actually sore for him, but now he has to take it as a player. So if he's given an opportunity where he can actually perform and do what he loves doing, I think he's doing absolutely that. And then I think more players that are actually trickling in. We have Mlambo also, who's also there. I think also him is also going to turn it up.
Majoro is there. Leading. He's leading from the front.
So I think we having an exciting bunch when it comes to AmaZulu, and AmaZulu actually now a team actually now people are starting to talk about, and it is good for the history of the KZN team, which is what the owner has always said. He said that every time he wants every player from Devon to actually represent that team. So he wants to build a big brand that when you grow up, you need to stop looking at your Chiefs, your Pirates, your Sundowns. You need to start at home. If you have not played for AmaZulu and you're from KZN, it should mean something.
Are you going to go back and play for AmaZulu?
Yeah, I'm going back.
So we're going to give it to?
I'm there. Don't worry, I'm there.
You want to give it to AmaZulu?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a tough one. I mean, look, Sundowns is Sundowns also. On the day, you know what? I think I'm going to go with a draw.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a draw.
Could be a fair result.
Yeah,
draw.
I'm going to go with a draw.
Will there be a Shabalala debut for AmaZulu? We'll find out over the weekend. That will be very interesting to see Shaba back.
It could be.
And colours and playing his football locally. So
I think it could be.
Yeah.
Just to maybe get the match, because I think what the pedigree that he has, I think putting Shaba in gives Sundowns a lot of planning to actually to go around, because I think maybe they might say they're going to give him maybe the last 20, they're going to give him a last 30, because Mangoba is smart as well. Remember, he worked with the team.
Yeah.
And him actually going away about into this game, he will understand players, because coaches will understand in terms of fitness this plays at that level and that level. And I think for AmaZulu, they wouldn't actually want to risk Shabalala to play maybe the 90 minutes, because he could get injured and then we could actually wait much longer to see him.
Right, so far the players that have scored the most goals, you got Evangar with 3 goals, you also have Richard Mbulu on 3 goals. Bevan Fransman at TS Galaxy scored 2 goals, by the way. Kamaldeen, a new lease of life given to him. The Grobla also on 2 goals. And then you're talking also about the likes of Dansani, Memela. Those are the players that have done very well. So that's all the time we have for today, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully your predictions come right. We'll meet you also again next time for more action. Talking football from myself, Brian Mofokeng, and Shoaib, as well as Soso. Till we meet again from Frontrunner Sport.